Hi, this is Graphically Alex coming at you with all things fat related. If that's something that interests you, please subscribe. I'd love to have you. Today, I have a video up by my friend Lisa, and I want to go ahead and react to it because I felt like it was one of the most perfect comments I've ever seen of fat acceptance, where it was somebody that is very much running through, oh my gosh, not me having not liked it yet. I haven't seen it yet. I was saving it for the record, Lisa. But anyways, I wanted to go ahead and react to it just because this person has like this running dialogue of fat acceptance rhetoric, very much, in my opinion, in a robotic way, and in a way that is so much like all the others. Okay, so I did want to cover this, and I think Lisa has a fantastic rebuttal, and I want to add anything else that I can. But since this is a video about my friend, I'm going to talk about myself for a second first. I think I might actually be getting better. So I'm going to see how I am in a couple weeks, but expect a health update because I did have an issue with my car again today, and I'm going to just deal with it and whatever. But typically I would go into a full-blown trigger panic attack mode, like beyond panic, serotonin type of shit, like some crazy thing, like I did earlier when my car had an issue. And I didn't. I was fine. And so I think my physical health might be improving, and the summertime sadness era might be coming to a close sooner than expected. So anyways, I will keep you guys posted on that. Expect a health update probably in a couple weeks if it sticks. I just have to see if it stays that way. But that's kind of exciting, and I'm going to try to get back to my schedule this week and see how that goes. But anyways, sorry, I'm so horrible today. A lot of you guys have commented, I love that you just get into it, but today I needed to do a little bit of that just because I'm not sure what's going on. But anyways, let's go ahead and get into this, okay? Let's go, Lisa.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. In case you didn't know, my name is Lisa. I am currently losing weight as an obese person, and so far I've lost 75 plus pounds over the last 2 years, and I'm planning on losing more. So if you are subscribed to my channel, then you know I have a series of videos called Fat Reacts. This is where I, as a fat person...
Love. Be sure to check out her channel and subscribe if you guys haven't yet. But yes, 75 pounds. I'm going to use the woman card. 75 pounds on a woman is a lot. It's a lot. It's been sustained. And it's a big accomplishment, for sure. Anyways.
React to different aspects of health culture, including the fitness community, the fat acceptance community, as well as popular health and beauty trends. But as a fat person, I tend to gravitate towards reacting to other fat people. And in the process, I sometimes make people a little mad. And then I sometimes end up with these unhinged takes in my comment section. For example, hey, this is such a quirky and cute video.
I want to say, look at the wall of text. Look at the wall of text. I love the way that Lisa put this. Oh, man. Okay. I just have to say the very first line. Hey, this is such a quirky and cute video. Now, I've seen the username of this person. I mean, it's kind of on blast because you could probably just go to Lisa's channel and find it at some point. But let me just say the username is definitely giving toxic Gen Z. That's what I will say. Toxic Gen Z. I'm not going to throw Gen Z under the bus. Too many people do it. I'm not doing it. But I will say, I've said on my channel many times, I will call out toxicity of all generations. This person, in my opinion, IMO, is giving toxic Gen Z energy. So to start, this is such a quirky and cute video. Sickly sweet, judgmental, hate it. Hate it. Hate it to start with. Okay.
Does the notion that fatness is not correlated to health and the fact that fat individuals often face major medical neglect go over your head?
So cringe. So cringe. I'm gonna let Lisa finish. I'm gonna pull a Kanye line. No, I'm just kidding. But I am gonna let her finish. But I am so reactive that I just hate it immediately. So, right here, fatness is not correlated to health. Lie. Major lie. Major lie. And the fact fat individuals often face major medical neglect go over your head. A lot of people do. It's not a fat issue. Not a fat issue. Okay. So already, you guys know me. A lot of people on my channel, you guys are like, oh my gosh, you never let somebody say something. It's like you can't with these fat activists because it's just like a string. It's like this. It goes like rapid fire. So I have to stop it and say, no. That's me. Sorry. I'm great at saying no. It's one of my favorite words that ever existed. Okay.
How about the correlation between poverty and access to healthy foods? I scrolled through your channel a little bit, and it seems to me that the notion of accepting that your body does not reflect your morality and your true health problems just goes over your head, which is completely crazy. Do you ever consider people's access to medical support, the cost of healthcare in places like the USA? What do you think about the fact that I've been fat my whole life with severe mental health problems plus physical disabilities that largely impede my ability to exercise or function on a day-to-day basis? Have you ever worked out with a migraine?
Oh, gosh.
Have you ever...
Worst person to ask that question, by the way. Toxic Gen Z. I know Lisa, though. She's gonna go through all these things, okay?
Starved yourself because if you try to put anything in your body, it will just reject the food because you're in excruciating pain? Have you crawled out of bed just to get to the bathroom? How do you feel about excessively thin people with a host of health issues? Do you seek to address how thin they are? What if I told you that in spite of all my medical problems, I always had perfect blood work? What if I told you that even at my most physically fit, I was 5'3" and around 245 pounds because I was mostly muscle? But never mind all that. Why does the idea of pushing for body neutrality and liberation bother you? Because it's in your face? It sure bothers me to never find...
I do not know if somebody would ever ask me that, but oh my gosh, I'm telling you, like, I don't think they would ask me that because it probably wouldn't go well. I'll put it to you that way. Like, I don't even know. Ooh, the energy, man. We're getting some Karen energy here, too.
And clothes that fit me in stores. Sure bothers me that countries with increasing access to Western media are beginning to have higher disordered eating rates. Oh man, it also really bothers me when I'm devalued in a space simply for being too large and taking up so much room. It bothers me a lot that 50% of girls under the age of 8 worry about being too fat. Also really bothers me that fat people tend to have comorbidities due to socioeconomic factors denying them preventative care. Surely, that has nothing to do with the notion that society just thinks of fat people as worthless, lazy, and unwilling to change. Their words, not mine. Definitely has nothing to do with medical neglect fat people face from doctors, but who cares, right? Fat liberation is so in your effing face, and we're just promoting unhealthy lifestyles instead of encouraging people to understand they aren't defined by their size. I've been plus size since I was...
You're encouraging eating mindsets. So one thing that Lisa did want me to talk about in response to this is that aspect, because Lisa doesn't have any experience with that. So I will say fat liberation, fat acceptance, whatever you want to call it, it is encouraging an ED mindset and is often encouraging people who have BED to go deeper into it by various means, whether that is having a toxic fear of any kind of weight loss attempt, whether that means having an over identification with one's body as fat. It's, you should never be making fatness a part of your identity. That is ED behavior. I want you to understand that. It's not normal. It doesn't it's not a part of your identity at all. It's very stupid to do that, and it doesn't make any sense. But I understand from an ED perspective, it makes sense because you're always hyper fixated on your body. But that's my issue with fat acceptance, is it gets people who are suffering with BED primarily, and it encourages them to go deeper and deeper and deeper in it. And it also encourages people with other EDs that are maybe a little bit less severe to transfer to BED, because you can jump from one to the other. So they promote it. And I don't even know if they are aware that they're promoting it, but they are, which is why I have a huge issue with it. The other reason I have an issue with it is that fat acceptance pushes ED logic onto people that don't have one. And it's very gaslighting, and it's like this movement of pushing and pushing and pushing, of trying to get a normal person who understands that if you eat too much, you're going to gain weight, trying to get them to forget that truth, all to obfuscate your behavior. That's what it is, because it's your coping mechanism. That's my honest opinion about this movement, and I don't support it, and I'm never going to support it. I never have supported it. I am very much one of those people where I had these issues very deeply, but I never, ever would have wanted somebody else to share the same pain. And I never, ever would have encouraged this in someone else. Ever. So, anyways.
13. I was not a thin child post-puberty, and 90% of that has to do with genetics. Have you researched
ED logic.
epigenetics? Do you know about how our bodies deal with food scarcity? F it though. Who cares? We're just shoving Marxist propaganda down your throat. Never mind the fact that I have done hours of research, and if you want, I can absolutely...
Yeah, and no one else has ever done any research that is different to what you... that nobody else has ever done research that has come to a different conclusion, sometimes even opposite. Like, I have reached a completely opposite perspective of view. And I've done much research. I've been super morbidly obese for 15 years. I struggled with an ED, vicious ED for those 15 years, deadly. I also suffered through hypothyroidism caused by it, which led to horrific health issues at a pretty much young age. I mean, around 28 years old. Shit hit the fan. That's not like an ancient age. And I've tried countless diets, and I've successfully lost 100 pounds sustainably with extreme hypothyroidism and a history of ED. So I would say your research could definitely be wrong. That's what I'll say. Okay. Research. Toxic Gen Z, research does not mean that you're right. Research means that you're still searching. You're always searching for the truth. Even with the amount of research that I have, I still am open to being wrong about things. Even as I experience different levels of obesity, I see how different things could work for certain people at a different size, because I can observe how differently the body functions. And I'm always observing and researching others as well. Like, I've definitely been following Lisa's journey very closely. I have other friends and family members that have been working on their health or looking at different things. I observe BED behaviors in others. I do research all the time. And you need to be able to always have an open mind and always be willing to see that you could be wrong about something. Always be willing to see that your perspective could change, and I think it should change. Honestly, I think your perspective is horribly wrong. Okay? So anyways, let's continue.
Link you the papers and articles I'm referencing. But guess what sources you've put in your description and video? Nothing. Smiley face.
1 second. Okay.
Wow. Yikes. Now, as somebody who puts videos out on YouTube, I'm quite used to receiving some unhinged, angry takes, especially if you lob any kind of light criticism at a certain plant-based community. But none so as unhinged as this. Honestly.
You know what's funny is I actually get less hate from the vegans now. It's interesting. But when I started, I got a lot. And I think it's because, I don't know. I don't even really know why. But you guys can let me know. If you guys are vegan, maybe you can let me know. I don't know. But there is a lot of vegans that I don't know. It's weird. I don't know if it's because the way I am changed or because I lost weight or what, but I don't really get it anymore, which is interesting. So I have to report, if it's changed. It has. I haven't been getting it, so it's interesting. But Lisa has definitely. I've seen some of her exchanges and stuff, so she's been getting a lot of vegan hate lately. It's interesting. It comes and goes, I guess.
Honestly, not going to lie, this was my first reaction upon reading this comment.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
But after I stopped laughing, I'm not done laughing yet.
It was really bad, but it was very hive mind. That was what I was trying to think. It was so hive minded, and so just it could have been. She might even include this quote, but when she read this to me over the phone, I told her, I was like, this could have been created by AI. This is like you ask ChatGPT or something can you write an unhinged comment from somebody who's watched a lot of fat acceptance TikTok, and that would have been created. It's on that level. I almost question if that's a real person. I feel like that person just writes that comment or sends that comment copy paste to everybody, basically. It's just crazy.
I stopped laughing. I thought, well, gee, this is the perfect opportunity. Break down the abhorrent gaslighting this fat liberation activist is trying to employ here. So yeah, let's jump into this unhinged wall of text and break it down. Hey, this is such a quirky and cute video. Does the notion that fatness is not correlated to health and the fact fat individuals often face major medical neglect go over your head? There is no evidence that fatness is not correlated to health. This is a lie
Period.
And a narrative pushed by the fat acceptance and fat liberation communities. There is numerous data to support this. I've included the links down below. Now I know what you're going to say. These aren't research articles. These are just links to two of the most prominent medical research institutes in the United States of America. But fortunately for me, the Harvard one actually does include research articles at the bottom of their page, so, I didn't have to do any of that work. You can go check it out for yourself. Moving on.
Imagine saying you've done so much research on obesity and then claiming that there's no health connection. There's mountains of research showing a connection. And I can assure you there's much lived experience as well, if that's your thing. It's ridiculous.
How about the correlation between poverty and access to healthy foods? Food deserts exist, and poverty is a fact in obesity. That's also not what the video you commented on was about. When did I ever say that I don't support healthier food options for Americans?
I would say poverty can be a barrier to weight loss. It's not typically something that leads to weight gain, because in order to gain weight, you have to eat excess calories. So I would say typically, and this is what I'm saying, typically, obesity is a middle class issue. It's somebody who has some kind of disposable income, because if you are really, really strapped and you cannot even afford your bills or a place to live or something, you're not going to be able to binge, for example. But it can be a barrier to losing, and that happens because a lot of people gain weight and then they can't work as well, or they start spending so much money on food that they can develop poverty as well. Obesity can lead to poverty. I don't think that people talk enough about that connection of obesity leading to poverty, and that's why a lot of poor people are fat, because that can happen too. And I think that happens probably a lot more than people would like to admit. because if you eat a lot, you spend a lot of money, and you can like lose all your excess income on that. So yeah, I remember a while back, Sam at Every Size did a video on like how much money she spent binging, and it was like thousands. It was crazy. Like, you guys should definitely check that one out too, because it was illuminating. I don't have like all my spending, I haven't binged in years, so I don't have any of that. But I remember in 2018 when I was binging horribly, that was like my worst relapse I've ever had, ever. It was crazy. I was spending $60 a day on food. I was eating around 7,500 calories a day for 4 months. And it was crazy. Like, I think I barely went a second without eating. Like, I honestly think I would get up in the morning, go to the store, get a bunch of food, eat it on the way to work. Then I'd go to work. I worked at the airport. I'd go to vending machines all day long, all into the night. And then I would eat a dinner that I would either get a dinner or I would eat something that I had bought earlier in the day, like a box of taquitos or something, late at night. And altogether, it was a lot. It was like I said, it was like 7,500 calories a day. And that's a lot of money, and it's a lot of resources. It's very taxing on the body to eat that much for that long. And my health went so bad. It was so difficult. Like, honestly, I got so sick doing that. But yeah, I mean, I had disposable income at the time. So yeah, just be wary, because when you have food scarcity issues as well, when you get money, like if your situation improves, that can also be a trigger to start binging. So that's another way that poverty is connected. But if you can't afford the food, you can't gain the weight. That's just a fact. But people who are impoverished are not always impoverished. They are not impoverished from birth and then they die impoverished, and there's no break in between. Like, people flow through different times of life. So you can start out middle class, gain a bunch of weight, then become poor. That was kind of my experience. And then when you are poor, it's harder to lose. Or you can be poor and then get more money and then eat a lot, because then you have the disposable income, which I've had that too. Because at that time, I had come out of a time of being very poor, and that also contributed to my BED relapse, was the financial aspect. I really should talk more about the financial aspect of BED, but it is definitely a major part of it. So I'll have to cover that at some point. But anyways, see how good this comment is, though? It brings everything up. It's crazy. It's crazy.
I have talked about how schools provide lunches and breakfasts for students
That too.
under a certain socioeconomic bracket, and how that food is terrible. If I can't put the video up here, it's going to be down in the description box down below. But as far as I can tell, you're just putting words in my mouth and arguing with the wall at the same time. I scroll through your channel a little bit, and it seems to me that the notion of accepting that your body does not reflect your morality and your true health problems just goes over your head, which is completely crazy. First of all, what is that sentence? Pick a clause. But yeah, I'm glad that you scrolled through my channel a little bit and didn't watch any of the videos where I do discuss my morality around my health and body. My morals involve personal responsibility and self-advocacy in every area of life, including the medical setting. Not taking no for an answer.
I agree. That's a hard agree for me. Very, very agree. Very much agree with that.
Accepting the fact that I have physical limitations due to my disability, and that I will need help with certain things in my life due to that disability. And how does my body reflect these things? Well, I've lost 75 plus pounds via diet and exercise, but by also using specific accommodations to account for my disability and physical limitations. I have never hidden that. You can check out the video that I did on my 3 diseases here. Do you ever consider people's access to medical support, the cost of healthcare in places like the USA? Yeah, I was on Medicaid for 4 years between 2016 and 2020. During this stint, I was evaluated, diagnosed, and treated for my migraine disorder and hypothyroidism. All costs were covered by Medicaid. Medicaid also covered the costs of my PCOS treatment, as well as the evaluation and tests all needed for my eventual post-Medicaid diagnosis of hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. But Medicaid did cover the costs of the injuries I sustained prior to that diagnosis. Also, if you don't know what an EMG is, it's an extremely painful procedure that they do where they take metal needles and stick them into your muscles and run electricity through it just to see if those muscles will twitch. It's kind of like a screener for ALS, which is something they do. They want to rule it out before they diagnose you with EDS. What do you think about the fact that I've been fat my whole life with severe mental health problems, plus physical disabilities that largely impede my ability to exercise or function on a day-to-day basis?
Okay, so I have something to say to that. So what I would say is I have the same, and I've had the same, and I got through. That's what I'll say to that. Fat my whole life. Yep. Severe mental health problems. Yep. Physical disabilities, not as much, but when I was at my biggest, definitely affected my ability to function. I wouldn't say that that's a disability, but I would say it's a significant health issue, physical health issues that impeded my ability to exercise and function on a day-to-day basis. So I got through, but I had to fight them. I had to fight the severe mental health problems. My biggest mental health issue was my ED, and it was something I had to fight for 6 years. It was very severe. It was so severe. I don't even know how to talk about it. It was that bad. So, but it was I was fighting it tooth and nail for 6 years. And then by the time I was done, I had so many health issues that I could barely work. In 2021, I struggled a lot with working, and it was horrible. It was so awful. It has been horrible anyways, but it was just horrible. That's all I can say. But I got up and fought, and I kept fighting, and I got out, and I get it. I think a lot of people, I honestly question if most people have enough grit to get out of that super morbid obese, severe hypothyroidism, all that stuff, which that happens to people that get that big. It just causes so many issues. And I do wonder sometimes if people have the grit to get out. But I can, at the very least, I can try to provide and help provide a culture that supports people in doing so, because I also had to deal with people who told me what I was doing was impossible, or told me I could never get out, or told me that I could never lose the weight, for example, like Aubrey Gordon and a lot of other fat activists. And I had to deal with that. But I'm just that kind of person where I can say no, and I can disagree, and I can say, I don't believe you. I don't believe what you say. I'm going to have faith that there's a way out of here. And that's all I had, But I want there to be more for people than that, because yes, I have a lot of faith, but it was very hard. It was very scary. And I just was I'm going to just fight this until I can't. And luckily I got out, but you have to fight things. You have to have fight in your life to get through something like this. If it's severe, you have to fight through it. And I'm not going to sit here and coddle you and tell you that it's okay that you're not even trying. I'm not going to say that to you, ever.
Life with severe mental health problems, plus physical disabilities that largely impede my ability to exercise or function on a day-to-day basis. I think if this is truly the case, stranger on the internet, then you are the exception, not the rule.
That's also true. It's a very...
Just because I'm talking about a group of people.
Whoa, I went full screen for a second. That's very true. I'm sorry, Lisa, for the pausing faces. You're going to have to deal. I tried, and I almost glitched the whole thing. But what I will say is that's very true. So even in my journey, I understand that, my honestly extreme ED and physical health issues that resulted, they're not common. Most people don't get that bad in either one of those categories. But, as I've recovered, I kind of go up through the spectrum, and I'm getting towards where more and more people are. Like, I'm where a lot of people start now. So I can kind of see things. And like, as I go further, I can kind of make a bigger picture in my mind of all of it. And you can kind of start at the super specific type and then kind of branch out, and you can see like, as I lose weight, I see more of what people are talking about and that kind of stuff. But in my opinion, when you're super hypothyroid, super morbidly obese, all this stuff, there's probably a very specific way out, honestly. I think once you get down a bit and you get healthier, then the path kind of opens up, and a lot of people can be fine doing other ways. And so that's something that I've understood as I've lost. So, yeah. Anyways, okay, let's continue.
Does it mean that includes you? And even then, the Americans with Disabilities Act exists to accommodate your disability, just like it does mine. Have you ever worked out with a migraine? Yes, I have a migraine disorder, which until I was properly treated resulted in 3 to 5 migraines a week. And this lasted for about a decade. This included blurred vision, sometimes the inability to comprehend speech, drooping facial features as if I were having a stroke, numbness and tingling in one half of my body as if I were having a stroke, but I wasn't having a stroke, I was just having a really severe migraine. I would vomit before, during, and after migraines. I would miss work, internships, and even deadlines for assignments, all because of these migraines. And yes, even sometimes I worked out with a migraine because life went on. I couldn't stop doing life.
Well, yeah. I mean, if it was a decade, it's like you have to keep going. But I will say that during my hypo recovery, there's so much hormonal fluctuation during that recovery. And I've had a lot of migraines too. Not as severe as Lisa's. Oh my gosh, thank God. But I've had a lot of visual disturbances in my migraines, and it was really scary. It freaked me out, like really badly. But there was a time, like in 2022, where I had a migraine like once a week, or sometimes twice a week. So I've had them very often at times, but they've come and gone. They kind of started in 2021, got really bad in 2022, especially in December. I had like a month of migraines in December of 22. It was wild. And then I had a lot of migraines last year too. But they've gotten a lot less. And that's amazing. I'm really happy. But I would say that I have gone to the gym with a migraine too. I've done it. May not be the worst, most severe migraine ever, but I've done it. So, yeah. It just depends. Like when I was going through a lot in 2022, December, I didn't go to the gym anymore. And I always advocate for that. You can always stop if you're too ill. So it's just ridiculous to think of this as such a black and white thing as well. But yeah, you're not the only person in the world that's had a migraine. Okay.
Because my body was going numb and my head hurt. It sucked.
That's so
Believe
severe.
me, I get it. And thank goodness I got treatment for it because now I have about 2 migraines per month and it is way better. Have you ever starved yourself? Because if you try to put something in your body, it will just reject the food because you're in excruciating pain. Yes, I've had over 50 kidney stones. Anything I put in my body was immediately vomited up, especially if the pain was on my left side. Have you ever...
This is the wrong person to send this comment to. That's all I can say. This is the wrong person. Lisa is not the one.
All out of bed just to get to the bathroom. Yes, once again, I've had over 50 kidney stones. There have been times when I've been stuck on the bathroom floor because I literally couldn't move. I was in so much pain. And I also have that migraine disorder and hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. So yeah, this has been a recurring issue. How do you feel about excessively thin people with a host of health issues? Do you seek to address how thin they are? This channel isn't about the health of thin people. It's about my health. It's about obesity in America and the culture surrounding obesity and fatness. If you want to watch content on thinness, there's probably a channel out there for you.
Yes. I got this question too recently, and I will say, like, a lot of you guys, which I appreciate it so much, like, trust me, I care. You know, I care about people with restrictive EDs. I do. I just don't know that I can always speak on things from that perspective because I was so incredibly deep in BED that it's hard. It's just, I don't know. If EDs are a spectrum, I was like 100%. You know what I'm saying? I was like 100% BED. So it's like what I say about it may not always apply to every single one. But a lot of you guys that do struggle with those things, you have told me that a lot of my takes on it have helped. And I'm so glad, honestly. Like, I really, really am. Especially because on this channel, you know, especially this year, we've been talking a lot about body image as a major aspect. And I know that that does go across all of them. But it's like, I don't care what you have. Like, I want you to be okay, and I want you to get rid of it. Get rid of the ED. I think they're all awful, you know, but what I have the most experience with is with that one, you know, and it's complicated because when it's so severe, there does have to be body recomp change, you know, and that's similar to having an extremely restrictive one, you know, where that person may have to gain weight. I have to lose weight. And so you have to kind of balance it out. And like I said, luckily I was able to get rid of it in time, you know, because I don't have the same mindsets I did when I was 20, when I was 21, 22. Like, I don't think I could do this. I don't think I could have handled this amount of weight loss at those ages, which is very unfortunate, but it's a very real barrier that I don't think is given enough attention, which is why I give it the attention. But I will talk about obesity and I will talk about obese people because we need to talk about it. It's a major issue, and I want it to be talked about in the way that I'm talking about it. You know, it became enough of a thing where I was like, I need to speak on this. I just need to because I can and I know about it. And I have to do something about this. That's how I felt, you know. But it doesn't mean that I don't care for people that are too thin. That's not true at all. That's probably like one of the furthest things from the truth. It's just I don't always know how to help, or I don't know what to say, or I don't know as much about that. Which again, there are plenty of channels that do know about it. And I think that it's important to give those people attention and their, you know, and view their perspective as well, you know, especially if you're struggling with it. So it's like, I think it's okay for us to specialize on YouTube, you know, and to specialize on certain content, especially if it's our experience. Like me and Lisa have both been super morbidly obese for quite a while, you know. There's a lot of stuff that neither one of us likes are being said about obesity. And it's not just about destroying fat acceptance, which, yes, that's definitely a goal. I will be honest, I've said it on this channel multiple times, and I still feel that way, but it is also about replacing it with something better and actually talking about fat issues or fat advocacy and fat things that actually matter and that would actually help. That's what this is about, you know? So it's like, it's going to be the focus, but everybody's welcome. You know what I'm saying? It's not like I would turn somebody away, or if somebody's thin and they haven't experienced, they could comment on my channel. You know what I'm saying? I think it's ridiculous. And I try my best to discourage overly restrictive behaviors as well. I always advocate for balance on this channel to the best of my ability.
I'm not going to find them for you. You have Google and access to YouTube. It's how you found my channel. What if I told you that in spite of all my medical problems, I always have perfect blood work? Good for you, I guess. There is very little data to support that this will last the older you get. Also,
True. Majorly true.
you have complained of so many different health problems in its rant. Does blood work even matter at this point?
True. Very true. You can't say your blood work is perfect and then write about how many health issues you have. That is crazy. It's ED delusion, in my opinion. That's an ED. You're not self-aware. You've lost self-awareness. A lot of people that have ED, they dissociate. It can be a dissociative thing too, especially in BED. That is one of the things. Is a lot of people when they binge, they don't think about the fact that they're binging. It's like they dissociate during the process. But I think that sometimes when you do that a lot, it can kind of spread to other areas of life. And I've struggled, with certain things because of that. Because you can't, I don't think it's healthy psychologically to delude yourself about like how much you're eating, for example. Like I think it takes quite a bit of dissociation to accomplish that. And you can't even see within your own comment that you obviously have health issues, so the blood work is irrelevant. It's a terrible argument. So you're either a total liar, a bot, somebody that's just an AI generated comment, or you are struggling very much so. Worse than you even think. Because you're not thinking clearly. And if you're not thinking clearly, I don't judge you for that, but why are you trying to enforce that ill thinking on others? It's not good and it's not okay. And why are you trying to enforce it on somebody who is fat? Sorry, Lisa. On somebody who is fat, who is working to lose their weight. Like, why are you trying to be a barrier to her? For what? You're a toxic person. You're a horrible person. Like, I don't know what else to say. And there are usually so many, when somebody is super morbidly obese, there are usually so many physiological and at times psychological issues that are in a person's way. There is no reason why there should be social issues or social problems in weight loss. That has to stop. And that is something I will advocate for. And I will say, you are trying to create a barrier to somebody. And it's not going to work on Lisa, but it might work on someone else. And that worries me. That does worry me.
It kind of makes me question how your blood work is so amazing when you have all these other comorbidities. But regardless of what other health issues you have and how good your blood work is now, this will only be worsened by your obesity. What if I told you that even at my most physically fit, I was 5'3" and around 245 pounds because I was mostly muscle? I talk extensively about this on my channel. I have often said that people who are obese have a crap ton of muscle on them because they are carrying around so much extra weight, that weight being fat.
As long as you're active, then yes. If you're not active, you might not. But a lot of obese people have to be active because a lot of obese people have physical jobs, or they have jobs where they have to walk a lot, or they have to be up and moving around. So yeah, if you're active and you're obese, you probably have a lot of muscle because you're definitely eating in a surplus, for one. And for two, if you're active, you have to lift your body and stuff. So yeah, I've been a fat person that has had both a lot of muscle and a little bit of muscle. It's much better to have a lot. I can tell you that. It's so much better hormonally. You feel better. I've also built muscle rapidly when I was super morbidly obese in 2022 because I became active and I built a lot of muscle. I was eating a lot of protein because I was just eating a lot in general. So, yeah, that's true.
Also also talk about how when I first started my fitness journey, I also had more muscle than fat on my body. More than 50% of my body
That
was
was crazy.
muscle.
I was shocked. I was like, oh my gosh, Lisa, are you serious? But yeah, she has a lot of muscle.
Graphically, Alex, my friend, has his own YouTube channel. He can attest to this. But what was your point by saying this?
I was shocked. I was really, really shocked. Because I've seen the numbers and stuff. I was really surprised. But it makes sense too, because there were certain hormonal issues that I went through that Lisa didn't. So muscle is definitely protective, especially in weight loss. And I have a higher visceral body fat percentage than Lisa. I also think that men are more affected by obesity-related hormones than women. So there's been a lot of research. I think primarily because of that visceral fat, men have a higher visceral fat. Because even, again, because I research, my mom is also super morbidly obese, and I have a much higher, and I certainly started with a much higher visceral fat percentage than my mom, who is technically more obese than me now. So there's a huge, huge differential in women in terms of visceral fat, and it does have a lot of effects where women are not as affected emotionally by obesity, for example, or they have less estrogen symptoms or less serotonin issues and these kinds of things because they don't have as much visceral body fat. So it's been really interesting, but Lisa in particular, she did not gain her weight through binging, whereas like a lot of the same hormonal issues that I have, especially with the serotonin issues, my mom has them too, and she has BED. So it's stuff that I still am questioning and looking into. I don't have it all organized, but I have hella observations, and I'm telling you, if any of you guys are going into like research, please research my ideas on obesity. Please look into the connection between serotonin and obesity. I think it is so important. But anyways, let's continue.
Bodybuilder, what level of visceral fat did you have in your body? These things matter, but never mind all that.
It does. Also, how did you gain the weight? That matters too. Because typically when you have BED, you eat lower quality food that has a worse polyunsaturated fat profile. And so it creates a lot more hypothyroidism and a lot more issues with hormones. So how did you gain the weight? Lisa gained the weight through hormonal disorders. She had 2 very significant hormonal disorders. She has a video about her issues. And so she just kind of slowly put on weight throughout the years. Whereas like I had BED, my mom has BED, my grandma has BED. I mean, it's kind of heritable, you guys. People don't talk about that. But if there is a genetic, in my opinion, one of the biggest genetic components to obesity is that I think EDs in general are heritable, and BED is highly heritable. Like you can get it from a family member if the trauma activates it. It's really easy because it's also a learned coping mechanism. In my opinion, it comes from like an inherited neuroticism. I don't know how else to say it. I know that's a little harsh on my family and me, but I think there is like kind of a neuroticism that's inherited, and that anxiety or neuroticism can lead to a fixation on the body if traumatized. So I have a lot of thoughts on it. Those are just some of my theories, so to speak. But yeah, it is heritable too. So it's a lot. There's a lot to obesity. There is. But there's also some simple truths, like you're overeating. It's about as black and white as it goes, Okay, let's continue.
Why does the idea of pushing for body neutrality and liberation bother you? Pushing for body neutrality doesn't really bother me. It just doesn't really apply to me. I didn't really talk about it extensively in that video you commented on because it doesn't matter to me as much. I don't struggle with body image or an ED. That's not how I gained weight. So body neutrality is just not relevant in my case.
And it's so funny because, again, we cannot you can't assume that everybody has an ED. Like, there are so many signs. Like, if I'm going to quote Taylor, which I have to at least once in a long form video, there are so many signs when somebody does, but not everybody does. Some people don't. And Lisa is just, she's not a super emotional person. And I think being super emotional is a risk factor for BED, especially. But it's like, she's not, so she doesn't have it, you know? Because sometimes she's told me, she's like, oh my gosh, she's like, because like I'll do my health update videos and I'll go into like a long diatribe about like my internal emotional state of the weight loss and just things going on, which a lot of you guys appreciate, and I appreciate that you guys appreciate it. I think I do it because I want people to know that they're not alone in how they feel, and that some of it is a part of the process of weight loss or ED recovery or like getting past it. Like I said, I've been struggling a lot recently with just not having it because I've been living life again and I don't have it. Like what I said in the beginning of the video, I have my car issue again and I don't have my BED. I don't have a way to subvert the anxiety. So I'm coping with living life and doing things again because I'm healthier and I have to cope with things as they come. And that's where I struggle. That's why I talk about it. But it's like, Lisa can't relate to that at all. But there are people who can. And I still think it's good to know, you know, if it's something that interests you. So, yeah. I always say Lisa's the sunshine of weight loss. I'm the midnight rain, you know, which is why we do our podcast together, which we need to do another episode, Lisa. I know we really do. But the one that we did, it's like hugely, it has a lot of information and it has all the research and articles and all that kind of stuff underneath it. So it was a lot, took a lot to do that. But we're going to continue, obvi. But yeah, it's like, I like that because I feel like she can show kind of that, like the disability aspect, the hormone issues, the, you know, the medical system side and like all those different things. And I can show the other side, like the emotional side, the BED side, the body image side, kind of the negative side or, you know, darker side. She can do like the lighter, brighter side because she even told me once, she's like, I couldn't do a health update like you do because I just be like, I counted my calories, I lost this much weight, and I wanted pizza today, and I couldn't have it because it didn't fit my calories. And she's like, that's literally all it would be. And I'm just like, I get it. Like, I get it. But that's why I'm here, you know? So it works. So I can do horrible pausing faces for Lisa, you know?
However, my friend Graphically Alex does have a channel similar to mine, and he does talk about body neutrality. So you should probably see what he has to say about it.
I'm a big body neutrality person. I can happily say that when the car did all that, or when I've had other triggers this month, I didn't necessarily go to my body. I still think my brain dances around it a little bit, but I don't dive in and go down a rabbit hole and go like, you know, and I have struggled a little bit because I have some loose skin or like my body's changing or my skin is changing, like, and that's a little bit of a trigger too. So some things cut really deep and you have to just kind of work through it as it goes, basically. But I wouldn't say that I'm in ED mode because I'm not, because I don't binge. It has no connection. Again, to have an ED, you have to have the body image aspect combined with an eating behavior to compensate. And the eating behavior is gone. So I don't have it anymore. If I have a body image issue, it's not a part of ED anymore. It's just having a body image issue, but I don't feed it. I don't focus on it. I don't go deep because it's not a good place for my mind to go. Does that make sense? So I know it's complicated for people to understand, but I haven't binged for an emotional reason in almost 4 years, you know? So those pathways in my mind are really gone. But I do appreciate that when I had an issue today, I didn't think about my body, you know? So it's those kind of victories. But yeah, body neutrality is why, because I just accepted it as it was, in a sense. You know, I accepted the reality of it and just like, okay, this is what it is, whatever, I'm going to live my life. And that was one of the earliest things I had to do in my recovery. So it's definitely a good place to start, because you can, like for me, a lot of my ED was reinforced by being too introverted and too closed off. That's not the case for everybody. Some people, they, you know, they're like, you can be extroverted and have BED, but for me, that was definitely a huge aspect, because I would get so much anxiety because I didn't feel like I could function in the world. Like I didn't feel like I could get a job and keep a job, or I didn't feel like I could, you know, do certain things in life. And so that pushed me towards my ED further. But when I embraced body neutrality, which I would say that happened around 2015, 2016 for me, like in that time frame, it's one of the first steps I took in getting rid of my ED. I started getting out more and I started living my life. And I started seeing that I could handle things. You know, I got a job and I started, you know, I even got like active jobs, and like active in the sense of like customer service jobs and things like that, where I had to talk to people, and it was horrible. You know, if any of you guys are introverted, it was awful. Like, I don't really know what else to say. Like, I think a lot of my super introverted people that struggle deeply, we think that there's always going to be a time where it's easier to get out there and do something. It's not. You literally just have to do it. You have to force yourself to do it, basically. Even sometimes being on YouTube, or like when I collab with somebody, or just in general, it's tricky. It's hard. I'm still really introverted. Like, any ability I have to speak, which by the way, somebody sent me a nice comment and they said that I spoke like really, really well in like a beautiful way. And I'm just like, that was completely earned. Like, I started at the bottom, you know, like I couldn't do anything in terms of speaking. So all of my ability is purely through brute force effort and building from nothing, because I'm very introverted. So you can do it, but you have to work at it. And it helped me to deal with the BEG, because I started facing things in life piece by piece. And it was earliest steps. So it's important. Body neutrality is probably one of the strongest foundations of my recovery. The second one was just being honest with others and with myself about how much I was eating, and being able to say, I know why I'm fat. That was really, really, really hard. So hard. But that was the other foundation. So I remember it. I remember it all too well. I do. I remember it all. But yeah. Yeah, body neutrality. Totally in support of it.
Now, if you said body positivity, then I would point you to the videos that I did recently talking about body positivity. For example, my Lizzo video. And I talked about how body positivity is kind of important. Loving yourself is important for your health journey. It's why I did not put Lizzo down in that video for her body positivity.
I'm definitely a body neutrality person. I just think in ED, it's really important to just not think about it, because you're still going to think about it. Secret time. I still think about it a little bit, but I feel like I think about it a normal amount, because I compensate by trying not to think about it. Does that make sense? So it's like, if you have that ED past, or that ED, you will have a tendency to think about it too much. So if you try to avoid thinking about it, you'll probably think about it as much as the average person. So that's why I support body neutrality. Just because of that aspect. But yes, of course, like loving your body, like as far as taking care of your body and these kinds of things is major. Of course, I agree with that aspect, but I don't agree with body positivity in general. So, anyways.
Positive stances when it's truly about body positivity. Now, when you conflate body positivity with body liberation or fat liberation, that's where I have a problem. Because somebody being fat is...
Or even fat acceptance, because being accepting fat is what it is. So you're accepting a state of like super morbid obesity. And I don't agree with that. I don't.
Not an immutable characteristic, and lumping it in
Yes.
with race or sexual orientation is frankly offensive because it's in your face. I literally say in the video that you commented on that I don't encounter this in real life, only online where you exist. It sure bothers me to never find clothes that fit me in stores. Torrid carries up to a 6X, and I literally advocate in the video that you commented on for more access and options for plus size clothing. I also do so in this video. Sure bothers me that countries with increasing access to Western media...
It's a terrible person to make that accusation against, because Lisa definitely has. she buys cute clothes at her size, you know, and I'm not against it. I come at it from a very realistic perspective. Like if you're super morbidly obese, you're going to be losing weight for years, and you have to live your life during those years. Like, you can't waste any time. You know what I'm saying? Like, life goes on, so you go on as you're losing the weight. Like, we have to stop with the mindset of like, I'm going to hold my breath until I lose the weight, or I'm going to do this until I lose the weight, or I'm going to do that to, like, no. I've done a lot of stuff throughout these years of losing weight. I've done a lot of things. I've been very active. It's probably been one of the most hardworking, one of the most active times of my life, which is really weird, but it's true. So no, you always keep going.
Media are beginning to have higher disordered eating rates. It's funny that you should say that because I actually did do a video about my time living in Japan and my experience there as a morbidly obese person. It actually included a reaction to Michelle McDaniel's video on EDs and diet culture in Japan. I gave my input and said, yeah, it does kind of suck for women over there. And this includes like low birth rates for a lot of newborns, simply because their mothers are not eating enough. Oh man, it also really bothers me when I'm devalued in a space simply for being too large and taking up so much room. This has literally never happened to me. I don't know what your experience is, but at my heaviest, I was 347 pounds. People gave me respect because I did not accept anything less from them. It bothers me.
It's true. I think that this person also thinks that so many things are universal with all fat people, but fat people is probably one of the most diverse groups in the entire world. Like, it means almost nothing in terms of your identity or experience. There are certain things that some people have experienced. You can make some generalizations. Oh my gosh, these pausing faces. I'm sorry. You can make some kind of, you can make some generalizations, but you cannot act like everybody who's fat has had the exact same experiences across the board. Like, I even did a video with Eric where I talked about how I was duffed. Well, Eric used to be fat, and Eric was never duffed, because Eric is extroverted, and being duffed is an introvert's scourge. So he never experienced that, you know? And so it's like, it's not universal, but just because it's not universal doesn't mean that you can't talk about it. That's why I think we need to I believe in like as many people talking about this in a positive way as possible, because it will hit different people in different ways, and people will hear the right words from the right person. And so I'm very supportive of diversity of perspective, diversity of approach in the anti-FA space. I think it's great all across the board. I love it. I really do. But I'm still going to carve out my niche here, and I'm going to do it the way that I want. And maybe you'll relate and maybe you won't, but I hope it's interesting either way, you know? It's great.
50% of girls under the age of 8 worry about being too fat. Yeah, that worries me too. and has nothing to do with the video that you commented on. We can all agree that people of a healthy body fat percentage trying to lose weight is an unhealthy behavior. But it also doesn't mean that if you're a person with an unhealthy fat percentage that you're okay remaining that way.
Yes.
You want to act like these two things are not mutually exclusive, but they are. No amount of 8-year-olds hating their bodies, which is, yes, objectively horrible,
Right.
will ever make somebody with a high body fat percentage healthy. Also, it
True.
really bothers me that fat people tend to have comorbidities due to socioeconomic factors denying them preventative care. I was literally jobless and on Medicaid for 4 years. I was able to get health care through the American government during this time. Was it the best? No. Was it accessible? Yes. I even have a friend who is on Medicaid for the first time in his life. I just talked to him last week. He fell on hard times. He and I had a phone conversation. He was like, wow, I had no idea that Medicaid was so great. It covers everything. And I'm like, I know. And he and I even live in different states. And it's like that we're on opposite ends of the country. Surely that has nothing to do with the notion that society just thinks of fat people as worthless and lazy and unwilling to change. If society truly believed this, I would not have been able to get on Medicaid. The government and society would have said I wasn't worth caring for.
True.
If society truly believed this, I wouldn't have gotten into graduate school.
True.
Because why waste time on a fat person? If
So
society
true.
truly
If society believed it, then it's like people wouldn't be making channels about this or anything, you know? It's like people care. People wouldn't be watching fat activists. People wouldn't be talking about them. People care. It's like, that's some of the dumbest thing. I have never gotten on here and been like, nobody cares about fat people. I don't believe that. Because it's so obviously not the case. Like, so many people have a fat person as a family member or a friend that they love. And it's like, people care about this issue a lot. So it's like, no, it's stupid.
believe this, I wouldn't be in my current career field where I'm able to receive accommodations for my disability. And I am fortunately in a position where I can still do that job and lose weight at the same time because I do accommodate my health issues. In fact,
Sure.
I believe it was in this video where I said it was so much easier now to lose weight now that I'm in a better socioeconomic situation. But
Yeah, and she cultivated that. And you can work towards improving your situation too. Lisa worked towards creating a situation where she could more easily lose weight. And you have to do that sometimes too. And it's not an instant process. Sometimes people take years. You know, what matters is that you're getting there. That's what matters, you know?
losing weight in a lower socioeconomic class is possible. You can once again check out my friend, graphically Alex, who is doing so right now. As for worthless and
She asked me, she's like, is that offensive if I say that? And I was like, it's not. It's fine. Yes, I'm at the poverty line, okay? I'm not like very low. I'm like right around it, if that makes sense. I don't need to like put myself on blast, but I'm still losing the weight. You know what I'm saying? Is it easy? No, it's not. I would love to be in a different situation, but sometimes you have to put more time towards different things, and sometimes you just struggle. I don't know. But I think for me, I've had to focus a lot on the actual weight loss effort and stuff, and it's difficult, you know. It's tough. But I also had to move and stuff. Like, I had a stable situation financially in 2020, but I had to move. And ever since I moved, it was tough. It got tough. So, but I also wanted to make sure that I was doing an active job to where I would be forced to move as a part of my weight loss efforts. So, yeah. It's a lot, you guys. It's tough. It can be tough. But you can do it. You can. You know, I'm not saying that everybody has an ideal situation or anything like that, but I am saying you can always work towards getting to an ideal situation. Even if it takes time, you work on it. You make it a priority and you work on getting to a place where you can do something. Okay?
and lazy. I'm not even going to link a video because I literally say, like nearly every other video, that I do not believe that obesity and fatness are due to being lazy or lack of willpower. I have stated that I do not believe there's enough support around helping obese and fat people lose weight. And there's not enough education out there to help them lose weight. However,
I would also say too, like there's active,
I do believe in personal responsibility.
There's active discouragement of weight loss. Like it's and even barriers, which I think is unacceptable to have people sabotaging you or in your way when it's hard enough just dealing with it on your own. So it's just awful. It's awful.
So that no matter what life throws at you, you can advocate for yourself and what accommodations you need to help you along your health journey.
Yes.
Definitely has nothing to do with medical neglect that people face from doctors, but who cares, right? I have talked extensively about my issues getting help in the healthcare setting. There is a video that I did with Graphically Alex a while back. You can check it out in the description box down below. If I'm able to put it up here, I will. I don't know if I can.
Yeah.
But I detailed these issues, including my health
I remember
issues.
it. That was way back in 2023 in like February. It was like right when I started my activism in this area. It was right at the beginning. And it was super interesting because we really had to kind of break down certain things. And I think back to that fondly. Those early beginnings. I appreciate it. I appreciated that stream, by the way, Lisa. It was great.
And how hard it was for me to get the healthcare that I needed. That being said, I did keep fighting until I did get the help I needed. Fat liberation is so in your effing face, and we're just promoting unhealthy lifestyles instead of encouraging people to understand they aren't defined by their size. One, I don't know what you mean by in my face. You're primarily a TikTok movement as far as I can tell. And so many of your influencers are not surviving their current physical states that I do wonder how long your movement will last. Two, you are promoting unhealthy lifestyles. Three, if fat liberation were actually not defining people by their size, you would be body positivity and I wouldn't even clock your existence. I've been plus size since I was 13. I was on a thin child post-puberty, and 90% of that has to do with genetics. It is extremely disingenuous to state that childhood obesity is 90% due to genetics.
It is.
Unless you're talking about how up to 90% of children who are obese have some sort of genetic factor related to their health. And even then, that range is like 47 to 90%. And even so, this continues to be disingenuous because all those studies that state that specifically say that this is due to a complex mix of genetics and environmental factors. What is the environment, you ask? Really crappy food. Usually very processed crappy food. Kids really shouldn't be eating these things, and we need to stop putting them in our school breakfasts and lunches. And I have also been plus size since I was 13 years old, so we also have that in common. Have you researched epigenetics? Do you know how our bodies deal with food scarcity? Yes, I have read into epigenetics. It is an emerging area of research that states, hey, maybe both the environment and genetics working together make up how our genes express themselves. Which is like, we be new. Your environment influences your gene expression. Now, if you don't know what that means certain genes might activate or turn on or start showing themselves in some way because of the environmental issues that you've introduced into your body. As for food scarcity, this is actually something I've talked with my grandmother about at length. When she was starving to death under Nazi rule in Austria, it was World War II, she was forced to steal turnips in the middle of the night to survive. Is that the kind of food scarcity you're talking about? Or are you just using this as a synonym for calorie deficits? Also, that's not why I'm fat. F it though, who cares? We're just shoving Marxist propaganda down your throat. By the way, there was a socialist in my comments. I'll put his comment up here. And he was none too happy that you were including fat propaganda into the socialist cause.
The thing is, okay, this is where this person said this is a right-wing liberal movement created by extreme consumerism and moralist culture that's been prolonged and amplified by the conservatives' reaction to it. So what I think we need to know, and what I will continue to state, is I think this is a political movement nominally. It is. Like, it does have a political stance. It does have a political agenda. And it wants to push for political change. But I think fat acceptance isn't really anything. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like, in terms of politics, it's like it's just not real. I don't know how else to say it. It isn't real. It's like I told you guys, I keep feeling it in my soul, and I will keep saying it. It is just ED logic. That's all it is. And then it's like a cult. So it's like an ED cult. That's how I would describe it. Disguised, masking itself as a political movement, which I think, I mean, I guess it's on the left, but I think it's just because a lot of people on the left just didn't say anything and didn't say to get out, you know? But I've stated numerous times, like, there is a fat acceptance culture within conservatives too. Like, there's a lot of fat conservatives. Like, I don't know, newsflash, you know? I don't know. Like, that isn't news to anybody. They just don't talk about it in the same way. So, but the attitude is still there. So I really, this is not a political issue. And I know that it's so easy to make it political in terms of the times, because everything is hyper politicized and everything is just polarized and all these things. But at the end of the day, this is not a political issue. This is a mental health issue, and this is, you know, a weird money-making thing. So that I will say, there is a bit of a money-making, multi-level marketing level of aspect of fat acceptance. There's something to it. I do think there is some money in it. So for that, I will say sure. But I also think that even if there wasn't any money in it, the fat acceptance culture would still be there, because the ED would still be there. So it still exists regardless. It's a strange combination of mental health issues and a shitty food environment, essentially, combined with a lot of food around, if that makes any sense. So a lack of food scarcity, that's what creates BED, because it's harder to binge on food that is not processed. It's not impossible, trust, but it's harder. And it's like all these different things are there at the same time. But is it a right-wing movement? Is it a left-wing movement? It's not either. It's not a movement. It's stagnant. If anything, it's like a stagnation. I mean, it's not, I don't know. It just, I think it's so hard for people to see that. But just don't fall for it, because it's not a political thing. It's like a scam. That's the word. It's a scam. That's exactly what it is. It's like a chain email that says you're going to die in 7 days, and now you have to send it to 12 people. That is fat acceptance. So I don't think we need to legitimize it to the point of saying it's political, because it's not. And again, most people, left, right, center, capitalist, socialist, everything, everybody basically is not a part of fat acceptance. I'd say a natural, normal stance is not fat acceptance. The issue is that it is bleeding into institutions, because they've done so much activity online that institutions that don't know anything about anything, and leaders within institutions, are listening to TikTok, which is crazy in and of itself. And that's a huge issue. So that is a political issue, or that is something we can talk about. But the actual movement itself, it's a scam. Okay? It's a myth.
Happy that you were including fat propaganda into the socialist cause. Now, he and I may not see eye to eye on our particular economic preferences, but at least
Right.
we can agree that fat liberation does not fit into any sort of class struggle. And frankly,
True.
it kind of feels like you're
True. Gosh.
trying to cuttlefish your way in there. Ew.
True.
Never mind the fact that I have done hours of research, and if you want, I can absolutely link you the papers and articles I'm referencing. Yes, please do. Why didn't you in the first place? You had a whole comment section to do so. If you can back up everything you say, go ahead. Show me. Do it. Use this comment section below to demonstrate. But guess what sources you've put in your description video? Nothing. If you want sources on American obesity and what I believe is causing the current health crisis in America, my friend Alex and I started a podcast on the topic.
did.
We're doing it very slowly, but very thoroughly researched. But this podcast does include a link to our Substack, which includes all the research articles that we used in making that podcast. If in particular you mean weight loss, calorie deficits, why people are fat, that knowledge is so readily available.
True.
You can literally just Google it. But you know what? I'll just include a link for the Mayo Clinic down below. So based on this comment, the tone, the cute, quirky mocking, I can only assume this person's Gen Z. Just really fits the bill. And it really is a great example of gaslighting, as this person...
Toxic Gen Z. We will amend. I'm not a Gen Z hater, I promise. I don't want to be accused. I'm not, I promise. I promise you guys. I don't hate you. I don't. I hardly ever bash Gen Z, okay? But I will criticize it because there are issues. But this is a toxic Gen Z. I don't like toxicity of any generation. Zero.
person is acting like I've said things that I didn't actually say, and then trying to phrase things in a way to get me to respond to them and defend that point of view, when it's not even my point of view. In fact, many of my opinions are actually the opposite of what they're saying, as can be shown in all the videos that I've made over the past 2 years. The best thing you can do in situations like this is just to utterly refute the premise. And the premise in this case, at its core, is massive projection. They are trying to stereotype me while being a complete stereotype themselves.
Yes.
To quote graphically Alex, after I read him this comment and we both had a good laugh, he said, "It's a running script of all the talking points. It's almost as if AI took all of Fat Acceptance TikTok and created this comment."
Yes.
Oh, and it's so true. Anyways, I hope at the very least that if you didn't get a laugh at this, you know, learned a little bit about me and my stance on weight loss and fat acceptance and all these other factors. So what do you think? Let me know down below. Like and subscribe if you're so inclined.
Loved.
And I look
Loved
forward
it. Loved.
to reading more unhinged comments to you in the future. Have a great day. Bye.
Loved. Yeah, I just, yeah, it was just that good of a comment. I was like, I'm going to have to react to that. And she was like, please do. So I did. And it was a long one. But thank you guys so much for watching. And hopefully I am feeling better. It's really late. Now I have to go to the gym. I'm going to be in my midnights era. It's really, really, really late. So, oops. But anyways, thank you guys so much. I will talk to you guys later. Bye.